Okay, if you're thinking about moving to Tennessee and trying to decide between moving to Nashville or Knoxville, this is going to be the video for you. So I have a lot of people reaching out to me who are considering moving to Tennessee, trying to decide between these two areas. I have lived a lot of years in both of these cities, and there's a lot to learn about both of the different areas. Apples to oranges, really, there's such a different flavor to each city. They both have such a different vibe, a lot of great things to offer in both, but just a lot of key points to consider if you're thinking about moving to the area. So hopefully we can help you decide what some of those important things are to you and help address those in this video and kind of help you pinpoint a little more closely which one of these cities might be right for you. So if this is your first time visiting my channel, my name is Jennifer Gramling. I'm a real estate agent here in Nashville, and I help people just like you move to the area every single day. So if you have more questions after this video, don't hesitate to reach out. You can call, text, email, however you want to get in touch, or you can schedule a call with me on the Calendly link, which is in the description, and we can get all of those relocating questions answered. But just want to try to touch on some of these key points on those differences between Nashville and Knoxville. They're both phenomenal cities. I really love them both for so many different reasons. So it's a tough choice deciding between the two, but maybe some of this will help you figure that out. Okay, so as we jump right into it, housing affordability is probably a first on a lot of people's minds, and there's actually a big discrepancy between the two prices in these different areas. So both areas are going to have luxury homes. They're also going to have more affordable homes depending on where you are. So don't let that be a total deterrent for you. But Nashville has been being built up. People have been moving here in droves for quite some time now. And so people are quite surprised when they move to Nashville that some of the prices can be as high as they are. So when we're looking at the difference between the two, Nashville is far less affordable than Knoxville is. You also have a lot of different options because it is such a bigger city. So we're going to touch a little bit on that in the next point, but just right off the bat, Nashville is going to be more expensive than Knoxville. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those numbers and share those with you. Now, you're not going to notice a huge difference between just the full metro areas when we look at that. So if you look at that, you've got Knoxville here, which is showing $384,000 is the median home price if we're looking at the Redfin data. And then for Nashville, $452,000. So really not a huge difference, 452 to 384 as far as that goes. But what you're going to notice is that when you get out more into some of those suburban areas is where you're going to notice those big differences. So this is taking into account all of the houses everywhere. Let's drill down a little bit and look at some of these more specific suburb type areas and show you the difference there. So if we start out on some of those more luxury markets, so if you're looking in Knoxville and you're looking at more of the luxury markets, you're looking at more probably West Knoxville and Farragut, those type of areas. If you're looking in Nashville and you want to look in the more suburban areas that are a little more upscale, you're looking at probably Brentwood, Franklin, some of these type of areas. Those are kind of comparable. So let's take a look and compare what the prices and median home prices are in those areas. So here we've got Farragut. If we want to take a look at this, so I'm just going to scroll down here. So if you look at your average and your median home sale price, this was January 2025 and January of 24. So we'll focus on this. So the average sale price in Farragut is going to be $710,000 and the median sale price is going to be $679,000. Like I said, this is probably going to be somewhat comparable to that West Knoxville as well, but these are going to be your average sale prices up from last year. Let's take a look at kind of the equivalent type of area in Nashville. That's going to be Brentwood and Franklin. So if I scroll down here, they've got the summary, but Brentwood and Franklin, you've got your average sale price here is going to be almost 1.6 million. And then in Franklin, almost 1.2 million. And then your sale median is going to be 1.15 and about $1 million for Brentwood and Franklin. So you can kind of see some of the difference here. Average list price, $882, but kind of a big difference between these two areas. And then if we want to jump into a little bit lower price point in Nashville, probably a good example might be Hendersonville, Mount Juliet type of areas. And then in Knoxville, maybe Maryville. So let's take a look at those and kind of compare those as well. If I jump over here, we've got Maryville's numbers. I know this is really popular for a lot of people moving here. It would be really similar. You've got your average sale price is going to be $468,000 and your median sale price is going to be $383,000. And then if we jump over and take a look at Hendersonville and Mount Juliet, you've got your average sale price of $657,000 and $634,000 in those areas with a median sale price of $607,000 and $613,000. So you can just kind of look at these two compared to each other, and it's not quite double, but it's quite a bit more in these other suburban areas than in Maryville. So, I mean, this is not obviously an exhaustive list of comparisons of different suburbs, but it just gives you an idea that it is quite a bit more in the Nashville suburbs than it is in some of those Knoxville suburbs. And now, of course, like I said, there's plenty of luxury in Knoxville, Nashville, and then there's plenty of affordable places to live as well, just depending on what you're looking for. So that doesn't necessarily need to be a deterrent for you, but there can be quite a bit of a price difference between the two areas, depending on what it is that you're looking for. And then within that, you should know that just neighborhoods are very, very different. So you're going to get a lot more of those larger planned developments in Nashville. You do still have a lot of those in Knoxville, but you're going to have less to choose from. It's also a much smaller area. Also, a lot of the luxury in Knoxville, you'll find a lot of luxury in and around the lake and in and around golf courses. And then in Nashville, you're going to have a lot of just suburban neighborhoods that are going to be more luxury and things like that. So when you get out and start exploring some of those things, you'll start to notice a lot more of those differences, but you're going to have a lot less of like those huge luxury neighborhoods in some of these suburbs of Knoxville than in Nashville. But you do have a lot of money in and around the lakes and the country clubs and things like that in Knoxville. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. And sometimes it's just going to be a matter of getting boots on the ground and getting out there, looking and seeing what's available in these different price points of what you're looking at. And we definitely try to help you do that, get you videos of different areas if you're thinking about those different places to consider to move. But sometimes that helps a lot as well. But just really different as far as the lifestyles and the different neighborhood types in between the two areas. And then just touching on that size, let's take a look at the size difference between the two areas as well. Okay, so probably pretty obvious that Nashville is much larger than Knoxville. So population-wise, at least, so according to this website, we're just over 2 million in the Nashville area. Knoxville, about 947,000. So, relatively about half the size of Nashville. So Nashville is going to be a lot larger. With that comes a lot more things we're going to get into in just a little bit. But Knoxville is going to be a little bit more quiet. It's also going to be a lot smaller. If you look at this, you've got 3,500 square miles and 6,300 square miles in Nashville. So again, it's going to be about double the size as well as double the population. So Knoxville is going to be a little bit quieter. It's not going to have as much going on as Nashville. You're not going to have as much traffic, although I will say that there can be considerable traffic on I-40 going through Knoxville. So if you're thinking you're getting away from all the traffic going to Knoxville, that's not the case. And just like Nashville, both of them have traffic problems because they have grown so much. They have seen such an influx of people that infrastructure, keeping up with that is going to be hard in these places when you're trying to keep up with that amount of people moving. So especially out on some of those country roads that are leading out into some of those suburbs, you will find more traffic and stuff in those areas. But just generally speaking, Nashville is going to be a much bigger metropolitan city than Knoxville. And we're going to get into some of those differences next when we're talking about just the overall vibe of the cities. So Nashville obviously is going to have tons and tons going on. Knoxville still has a lot going on, but maybe not as much as what you're wanting. So depending on what you're looking for, Nashville or Knoxville might be it. So let's talk about some of those things in those downtown areas and nightlife and things like that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit first about Nashville and what that downtown area looks like, nightlife, all those things. Sometimes actually it helps me to look at a map, so I might share a map with you just so that you can look at it with me. Okay, so jumping over here to the map, this does help me kind of visualize things sometimes a little bit more, but just showing you this downtown area. So when you get into downtown Nashville, you're going to have Broadway, obviously. So everybody kind of knows about Broadway. You've got your honky tonks, you've got your bars, tons of live music, and tons of dance clubs. So there's tons of dancing and places to go at all hours. If you want to go have a drink and you want to go listen to live music at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, you can do that still downtown on Broadway. And that's no secret. Everybody kind of knows about that. But you're going to have tons of other places for live music and things like that as well. So you're going to have the Ryman, which is downtown Nashville. You've got places like Ascend Amphitheater, Nissan Stadium, Bridgestone, but you've also got a lot of smaller places like the Listening Room. You've also got places like the Bluebird Cafe, which are going to be out here in the Green Hills area. And then if you go east over here to East Nashville, you're going to have tons of little places to see music too. You've got dive bars, you've got restaurants, you've got all these things, and those are going to be all in and throughout. So if you are a music lover and you always want to be able to go hear live music and things like that, the options are just endless in Nashville. The music scene is absolutely crazy, and it's not just limited to country music. You can literally listen to all different types of genres, all different things. You've got jazz bars and blues clubs, things like that. And then you're going to have tons of places to eat as well, tons of coffee shops. Downtown, you've got Germantown, which is going to be right up here. You've got the Gulch, which is right here. And then you've got all of this whole West End, Sylvan Park, Vanderbilt area. You've got cool places like the Nations, which are going to be right over here. East Nashville, you've got Berry Hill. You've got tons of urban areas out here, tons to to explore all of them with lots of phenomenal restaurants, breweries, clubs, all of those things in this downtown Nashville. And that just comes with it being a larger metropolitan area. You've got lots of chefs and things bringing incredible restaurants to this area. You've got cool places. Like if you go down here across from Bridgestone, you've got this Assembly Food Hall, which is cool. It's almost like a giant food court where you've got a really nice restaurant on top, 60 Vines, but there's bars in the middle and it's like fast casual. There's tons of different restaurants. You can grab your food and grab tables together and eat. So just a ton of different things to do down in this area. But then you're also going to have farmers markets down here. You've got art museums. You've got the Frist Art Museum. You've got the Country Music Hall of Fame. And then you've got the Tennessee Performing Arts Theater where you can go see plays, musicals, ballets, all of those different things. You've got the symphony, literally endless amounts of arts and things that you can enjoy in downtown Nashville. And then the food scene as well. Tons and tons of great chefs and things coming to the Nashville area. So lots to enjoy by way of that as well. Okay, but what about downtown Knoxville? Is there anything going on there? Let's take a look at that as well. Okay, so Knoxville's downtown is going to be much smaller. So I would almost equate this, and if you're familiar or you've been doing research on the Nashville area at all, I would say this is almost somewhere in between a Franklin downtown and a Nashville downtown. So Nashville has so much going on all the time. Knoxville has a lot of things going on, but not nearly as much as downtown Nashville. And that may be something that you're looking for. It's definitely a lot more quiet. So if you go down to Market Square, it's going to be this little area down here, and it's going to be more like a Franklin Square type of the thing. So it's more of an older historic square. And then you've got a lot of restaurants, clubs, things like that off of it. But in this area, you're not necessarily going to find a lot of dance clubs and things like that. So you will have the Preservation Pub, which is really cool. So they have 3 different floors. They've got a rooftop. They will have live music, things like that, which is really cool. People love this. You've got lots of great restaurants and things on the square. This is also where they're going to have your farmers market. First Friday is really fun there. So a lot of different food trucks and live music and things will come. And then the art galleries and things will have a lot of different features. So that's kind of fun. But like on a Monday night at 10 o'clock, it's probably going to be pretty quiet down on Market Square. It's not going to be crazy busy like it is in some of the downtown Nashville places. But then off of Market Square, you've got this old city right here, which looks a little bit like this. So this is a really cool spot that they've renovated a lot of the places. You've got really cool restaurants down here. You've got cool pubs. For dancing, a lot of people want to go to Hannah's, and then they're going to go to the Southbound Club afterwards for dancing and things like that. But you're not going to have an overabundance of 50 different nightclubs to choose from here. You've just got a handful. But you will find lounges, cigar bars, there are breweries down here, and again, lots of great restaurants, but you're not going to have as many to choose from as you have in Nashville. But then one of the cool things, down here in this downtown area, Knoxville has its own theater district. That consists of the Tennessee Theater, the Bijou Theater, Clarence Brown Theater, and the Regal Riviera. Now, the Tennessee went through an amazing renovation. It's really, really beautiful. You can go see concerts there, plays, musicals. Same with the Bijou Theater. The Clarence Brown Theater was established when the University of Tennessee outgrew its theater area, so it puts on a lot of cool plays and things like that. And then the Regal Riviera is right in that downtown area where you can go see movies and things like that. So a lot of fun things to do like that on the square. Downtown Knoxville is on the river, on the Tennessee River. So you've got restaurants and things down there. You've got Calhoun's where you can go sit out on the water, watch the boats and things like that. Lots of great stuff in downtown. So again, there's a lot of great things to do in that downtown area. But if I scroll out, you're not going to have as many places outside of this little downtown area as you might have in that Nashville. So we looked at East Nashville, West Nashville, there's Green Hills, so many different areas, the Nations. Here, you've really only got a handful. So you've got Old North Knoxville, which is cool. You've got some cool restaurants and things that's being built up, and they're adding new stuff there every single day. You've got this area over here, which is to the left. So this is going to be where the University of Tennessee is. So over here, you've got the Strip. So there's some things over here, but if you're not a student at UT, you may or may not want to be going and hanging out over there unless you want to feel old, but it is a lot of students and things that hang out down here on the Strip. This is going to be where a lot of your student housing and things like that. And this does get pretty busy on game days, which we can talk about in just a little bit, but this is going to be kind of dedicated all to this University of Tennessee area. And then one other area to point out is just going to be on the south side of the river over here. So if you go across this bridge, there's a lot of restaurants and things over here currently. They're going to be putting a lot more in as well as time goes on. They're putting a pedestrian bridge across the river as well. So that's just going to add to more of that foot traffic and just easier for people to get over to this area back and forth to the downtown area as well, making that a little bit more walkable or bikeable. So this area will continue to grow as well. And then of course you've got all of your suburbs and things which are going to have restaurants and stuff like that. But as far as this downtown area goes, it's just going to be a little bit more quiet than that downtown Nashville area. And maybe you want that and maybe you don't. I actually really enjoy Knoxville's downtown a lot. I like that it's a little bit quieter, but still plenty of things to choose from. So So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about outdoor lifestyles. So if you love living outdoors and you're just really outdoorsy, Tennessee is a great place for you. So there's plenty of great things to enjoy in both places. I personally feel like Knoxville has a little bit of an edge, and I'll tell you why. But let's talk a little bit about Nashville first. So you do have tons of park systems in and throughout Nashville, in the downtown center, as well as out in the suburbs. There's tons of hiking in and around Nashville as well. You can go out to Leaper's Fork or Cheekwood Gardens, and then all around there's, waterfalls that you can hike to, all of those things. And like I said, biking and running paths. You've got small little lakes like Radnor Lake that are going to have paths and things around them if you like to sightsee. And then you've got things like the Harpeth River that run through the west side of town. If you want to kayak or canoe on that, you can do that. And then you've got the Cumberland River that goes through downtown. Also, you can get out and enjoy that. And then you've got some lakes as well. You've got Percy Priest and Old Hickory Lake, which are really close into town. Those are going to be a little bit smaller though compared to some of those Knoxville lakes, which we'll talk about in a second. And if you want to go a little bit further, you can go south or east of Nashville, about an hour or so and get to some more lakes. But if you're looking for something really in close to town, you've got Old Hickory and Percy Priest. Now, Old Hickory is going to be about 22,500 acres, and then Percy Priest is going to be about 14,000 acres of water. We're going to compare that to some Knoxville lakes in just a minute, because that's one thing that Knoxville has in spades, and that is lakes. And that is one thing that I really, really love is lake life. So that is why I think I like that Knoxville area. So let's talk a little bit about that. So they actually also have great park systems. You're going to be able to get out and find parks and things to walk, hiking trails, all of that. But your lakes that you're going to have in Knoxville, so much revolves around the lake, and you have tons of them. So really it's the Tennessee River that they've dammed up and made these lakes. And so actually you have tons of them. So if you remember, we said about 22,000 and 14,000 acres of water in those two lakes. So in the Knoxville lakes, just to name a few, you're going to have Watts Bar, Fort Loudon, Tellico, Cherokee. Watts Bar Lake has got about 40,000 acres of water. Fort Loudon has around 15,000. Tellico has around 15,000. Cherokee has about 28,000. And that's just a handful of the lake. There's actually a lot more than that, and they all connect. So they connect through locks and dams and things. So you can go from one lake to the other. You can live on Tellico Lake, and you can drive your boat all the way up into Knoxville on Fort Loudon Lake. Go to dinner. There's restaurants and things on the water. So you can drive up there, go to dinner. You can also take your boat all the way up to the football game at Neyland Stadium if you want. Tailgate on the water and then drive home. Some people can even boat to work, if their work is on the water. But so much revolves around the lake, and it's so fun in the summertime. Also, they do tons of celebration and festivals and things on the lake. So they'll do fireworks on the lake on Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July. They'll have bands out there playing on the water. People just pull up in their boats and anchor as far as you can see are just boat lights. You watch the fireworks and then you boat home. So there's a lot of really fun things that happen on the lake, and the lakes are just phenomenal there, in my opinion. And then of course you also have the mountains. So that's one thing that Nashville doesn't have is the mountains. So if you're into the mountains, Knoxville sits at the foot of the Smoky Mountains. And so it's really easy to get up in and into the mountains and enjoy all of the hiking, rivers, and everything that those mountains have to offer as well. And then you're also really quick to get into like Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, all those things. So if you want to go up there and have a little weekend away in the mountains, you're only about 30 minutes away, which is really, really nice as well. So as far as outdoors goes, I do think Knoxville's got Nashville a little bit beat, because you do have those extensive lake systems and you're in such close proximity to the mountains if you like and enjoy that as well. So both have great park systems, both have a lot of great things to enjoy, but you've got those mountains and extra lakes there, which is really kind of nice. Okay, I just want to touch a little bit on public transportation in both areas, because in my opinion, I did grow up in Knoxville. I live in Nashville now, and I lived in Denver for a while in between. And just living in Denver for a little bit just gave me a peek into what public transportation can look like. They actually have a decent public transportation system, and maybe not as much here in Tennessee, at least in Knoxville and Nashville. So there is a bus system in both cities that runs in that downtown area. So you can get away probably without having a car if you want to ride the bus in that downtown area, but it is going to be a little bit more limited. There's no light rail, things like that. But once you start getting out into the suburbs, it's going to be a real challenge. You can't just, like some other cities, there's not just a bus system that goes to every corner in every suburb. So it's going to be more challenging. So a lot of times living in Nashville or Knoxville, you really need to have a car unless you're really living in the downtown urban core where you can kind of walk to everything or take a bus. So it's just something to consider. If you're thinking about moving to either city, not having a car and being really walkable, you just want to be really thoughtful about where you're living in conjunction with where you're working and things like that to make sure that it's easy to get around without that car, because sometimes cars feel pretty necessary in both cities. But there is a bus service. You can make it work for you. I just say be a little bit thoughtful about where you're living. Okay, shopping. I touched on this in another video. Shopping experiences are going to be kind of different. I had someone someone mentioned this to me when they were thinking about moving to Knoxville. It was something that hadn't even crossed my mind, but they were like, there's no Nordstrom in Knoxville. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. There actually isn't. Never occurred to me. But you are going to lose some of that bougie shopping by being in Knoxville. So in Knoxville, in West Knoxville, Farragut, and these types of areas, you are going to have, a nice mall, and you're going to have a lot of nice boutiques. So you can get some nice brands in the nice smaller boutiques and things like that. But what you're not going to have is a big mall with a Nordstrom, Chanel, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all of those larger brands you're not going to have in Knoxville. Otherwise, you can get those in smaller boutique stores, but you're not going to get the big mall that's got all of the really bougie shopping in it. In Nashville, you do have that. In that Green Hills area, especially, that's where you're going to get all of those much more expensive brands, things like that. So, if that's something that's important to you and having a lot of that shopping and those sorts of experiences right on hand, Nashville might be the better city for you. If you can live in Knoxville and you still like those brands and you want to be able to shop at the boutiques or order online or even take a trip into Nashville when you need to do that kind of shopping, then Knoxville can still be great for you. But just wanted to note that, if you're looking for that really extra bougie shopping on a regular basis, Nashville might be the better place for you. Now, when it comes to grocery shopping and things, both cities are going to have Trader Joe's. They're both going to have Whole Foods, things like that. You're obviously going to have all of your Targets and Costco's and all of those things, but it really just comes down to more of that like clothing shopping experience and things like that. You're going to have more of that bougie shopping in Nashville. Okay, sports. If you're super into professional sports, Nashville is going to be more for you than Knoxville. Knoxville has got a minor league baseball team, the Smokies, who play now in downtown Knoxville. They have previously moved out. Now they're moved back in to downtown Knoxville, new stadium, all of that. But you have the University of Tennessee sports, which are amazing. So I grew up there watching the Vols. They are fantastic. So their baseball team just won the national championship last year. Our football team, basketball team, really all of our sports are a lot of times top 10 teams and really fun to watch. So we do have that in Knoxville. But if you want to watch pro teams, if you want to watch the Tennessee Titans play football, if you want to watch the Predators play hockey, Nashville also has a pro soccer team. And then Nashville also has a minor league baseball team, the Sounds. They just got a new stadium. It's actually beautiful. So you can watch all of these sports in Nashville. So, and then of course, there's lots of universities here as well too. You can go watch Vanderbilt sports, Lipscomb, tons and tons of different universities here, which again, we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. There are pro sports here. So if you're looking to have more of that, then Nashville probably has Knoxville beat. Okay, airports. So Nashville is going to have an international airport. Knoxville's airport is very small and cute. So you can get lots of flights out of the Knoxville airport and you can connect and go to other places. You're not going to have tons of major international flights going in and out of Knoxville airport. So if you travel a lot for work and you need direct flights and things, being closer to Nashville might be a better option for you. They've been expanding the Nashville airport. They've been adding parking. They've been adding a lot of direct flights. And Knoxville's adding some things too, but not nearly at the rate that Nashville is. So if you're wanting to be closer to that international airport for traveling, for work or for pleasure, whatever it's for, Nashville might be it. They definitely have Knoxville beat. Okay, let's talk about the weather. I'm actually going to show you the stats on that. To me, it's pretty much the same. There's just one kind of major difference that I would say. Okay, so taking a look at this website, we can just go take a look at some of the differences in the weather. And what you're going to find is they are pretty dang similar. Okay, so if we go take a look at these charts, you'll see this is the average high and low temperature for Nashville and Knoxville. And you'll see that they are pretty much the same. So the purple line is going to be the Nashville, green is going to be Knoxville. I actually would have guessed that Knoxville would have been a little bit warmer, but it actually looks like slightly cooler than Nashville, probably because you're in the foothills of the mountains. But one thing I will say is that if you're out in near the lake, I do think it's hotter out near the lake, but maybe that's just me. I have no proof of that. But when it rains, especially in the summertime and it's really, really hot, and then that humidity starts coming up off the pavement, it feels pretty hot. But according to this, Knoxville is a little bit cooler than Nashville. And then you can see the highs are very similar here as well. And you can look, they're just really about a degree apart on all of them. So really no difference at all. And then if we scroll down, you've got chance of clear skies, slightly higher in Nashville than in Knoxville. So maybe you get a little bit more clouds, a little bit more precipitation in East Tennessee as well. You got your average monthly rainfall though here. It kind of varies between Nashville and Knoxville. So they kind of crisscross paths. Snowfall, you basically hardly get any snowfall in either one, but this is the snowfall totals, 1.7 inches January, February. So just not much snow at all, which is, pretty regular. They're curve is exactly the same here. And then chance of muggy conditions, just so slightly higher in Knoxville. And that's kind of maybe what I was referring to. Feels a little bit more muggy, but really it looks like just in July, August here. But overall, weather's going to be really similar between the two places. The one thing to note is that East Tennessee sees a lot less tornadoes in that Knoxville area than Middle Tennessee area does. Now, there is a map. You can go out there and research it. There are areas that are more prone to tornadoes than others, but I think it's just that mountainous area. I'm definitely not a weather person, so this is just my guess. But being out there in those mountains, the more hilly regions, it breaks up those weather patterns maybe. That's just a guess, but you do get less tornadoes in that Knoxville area than you get in the Nashville areas. So if tornadoes are something that you're worried about, that East Tennessee area is definitely going to see less in that Knoxville area than in Middle Tennessee, just historically speaking. Obviously, anything can happen anywhere, but that's my little disclaimer, but they do see less there than you'll see in Middle Tennessee. Okay, both cities are going to be college towns. So Knoxville obviously has the University of Tennessee, which this is a campus of about 40,000 students. It's pretty much limited into that whole little campus area where the campus housing and all of those things are. And if you're hanging out down on the strip, you're pretty much only going to see those students. Unless it's game day, it's not hugely impactful, in my opinion, of that downtown Knoxville area. On game day, it's absolutely crazy during football games. So the stadium holds over 100,000 people. So as you can imagine, in a town this size, 100,000 people descending on that downtown Knoxville area, it's really crowded. Parking is really hard. There's just tons of people everywhere. It's super fun, but if you're not into those crowds and you're not into the University of Tennessee football, you may not want to be down there on those game days, but that's just during the fall. Otherwise, it doesn't really impact hugely, I feel like, that whole downtown area. So it's pretty much contained more to that university area, but it is kind of fun, especially on those game days. If you haven't experienced an SEC football game, they are so fun. So you definitely have to go to one, but it is definitely a college town. Now, people don't think of Nashville as being a college town, but it definitely is. And it's actually referred to as the Athens of the South because of the dedication to higher learning in the Nashville area. So you are going to have a ton of schools in the downtown Nashville area. You've got Vanderbilt, you've got Belmont, you've got Lipscomb, Fisk, Trevecca, Tennessee State, and the list literally goes on and on. So these are sprinkled all in and throughout the downtown Nashville area. But again, like University of Tennessee, I feel like this is really limited to those areas where it is game days and things like that. But otherwise, when you're down there, you're not really thinking, oh, this is a huge college town. But there are those universities down there and they do exist. So that's also exciting if you have, students or kids who want to go to college in this area. You've got lots of things to choose from. And it does provide a lot of great things to get out and do, watching the sports, plays, productions, things like that. So we have really covered a lot of ground on these two areas. Both of them are phenomenal places to live. I have lived in both. I would still live in both. I actually love them both a lot. So if you have questions at all about moving here to the area, I'm sure there's still a lot more questions that you have. I just try to cover as much as I could. But if you have questions, reach out to me. I am an agent in the Nashville area, but I'm also an agent in the Knoxville area. I go back and forth between the two and can help you and answer those questions in either of the areas if you need the help. So just don't hesitate to reach out. We can get all of your questions answered. But let me know in the comments what questions you have, or if you have been to or moved to either of these towns and you have feedback on things that you noticed that were really different. Drop those in the comments as well. Both, again, are phenomenal places to live. You can't really go wrong with either one, but let us know what questions you have. We have tons more content coming out soon, so don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can be the first to see these videos as they're coming out. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next video.